What's happening, people? Back with another reaction, back with some more punk rock, and we're going back to Ben Fraser's The Creeping Tide project. This is a track he apparently just released. Big shout out to Ben. And the tune is called Just Doing Fine, which makes me immediately wonder if there's an irony, a sarcasm, or at least a more complicated emotional state than that phrase would suggest, which indeed, I think it's often presented as a response when one doesn't really want to explore how one's feeling or divulge how one's feeling. It's like, how are you doing? Yeah, I'm doing just fine. Don't worry about it. So yeah, I wonder if there's that sort of sentiment or if it is more sincere and genuine. Let's see what I can catch on a first listen. This is The Creeping Tide. The track is Doing Just Fine, and it's a tune that I believe just came out in late February, or perhaps very early March of 2024.
You'll find us creeping by while the others are rising meaningless jobs and rising costs. Meanwhile, we'll be chilling medically running for the hills when it's hard to write about the others and their odds. We'll set our guilt, aggregate our lives. Lifestyle, hell on their loss, cultural appropriation, no remorse. Stolen artifacts and plunder wealth. Hoarded assets, irony lost. Burnt your forest, but you really can't pass judgment on the cards that you've been dealt.
Sounding punk tune, but it has some emotion, it has some melody to it, so I like that. I didn't catch the main the chorus. I couldn't hear clearly, but the lines I did catch about prices rising and presumably as wages stay stagnated, and it was something. It wasn't like cultural decay, but there was something I think running in that direction, and sort of the idea of precious artifacts that are plundered and taken somewhere else, which is funny. I was just talking in one of my other reactions. Of course, in the moment, I'm forgetting what it was. It was something about Indiana Jones, and I was saying he's actually a terrible archaeologist, right? He goes to these places, he takes prized cultural treasures, and then just smuggles them out of the country and puts them on a museum in his place, all the while endangering people, getting people shot, and so on. But it's funny, like, to hear that line shortly after, you know, going down that tangent. But ultimately, yeah, it sounds like the doing just fine is very much ironic and sarcastic, and it seems to be coming at that concept from some different angles. And in the chorus, I did hear how those like backing vocals were like doing just fine, but kind of like in this like malaise, like almost like zombified way. So it's like, you know, maybe part of it is, you know, trying to get, yeah, I'm doing just fine, I'm fine. Like, you know, everything in the world is fine. We don't really need to worry about all the like flashing red lights that we're seeing in culture, society, and so on. So it feels sort of like a, you know, raising an alarm, like, hey, like, are other people like seeing this, or, you know, are you all just doing fine? So it feels maybe like it's running in that direction a little bit. But as I said, sonically, I enjoy the bit of emotion, the bit of melody to the otherwise still, you know, energetic and having it old school punk style tunes. So big shout out to Ben once again. I do appreciate him letting me know and giving me a chance to react to the tunes, you know, sort of as they come out recently. I'm still going through the first album from now, what, like a couple years ago? But yeah, ultimately I did get back to it not all that long ago, so I will try to, you know, keep that going, and eventually, you know, we'll get to even more recent stuff in a more like thorough way. But once again, I do love the idea that there's other people in the world of acid techno and even like psytrance, big shout out to Ben as Sabretooth, but who are also into punk rock, because I've explained this many times, but I found acid techno shortly after I started going to punk shows and really dove headfirst into the punk world. And when I discovered acid techno, it was among a few other electronic, you know, rave music styles of the 90s. And the reason I think I keyed in on acid techno wasn't just because of the great like range of sounds that the 303 can make, but it was also like, man, these guys are like sort of the punk rock of the like techno or like rave world. It definitely came across as like the underground, you know, kind of two fingers up in there, war or like sub culture within the rave world. And I was like, oh, this seems very punk rock. And then I would learn that, you know, people like Chris and Geezer and others, like, they've played in punk bands, or, you know, still play in punk bands. Shout out to Dogshite. So yeah, I just love that people in the acid world, there are many acid punks. And indeed, that reminds me of the release, Acid, what is it? Acid Punk Rockers. It's a tune by TikTok, and I'm trying to remember who else. But I enjoyed the sentiment in that track, and given that I just am remembering it now while I'm still in the video, I will try to look it up so I don't leave it hanging. It is a tune, Filthy Punk Rockers, that's what it is, and it's with Carrie. So shout out to them, and RIP to TikTok. But yeah, once again, big shout out to Ben. Massively appreciative of being able to go through the old school punk sounds from the Creeping Tide project. Let me know what you think, and I will see you next time. Peace.